The topic of mental health is still very much an uncomfortable subject for so many persons. There are so many people that have been abandoned by their family because they have mental health challenges. Sometimes dealing with someone who has mental health challenges can become overwhelming for the family experiencing an anomaly behavior from that person. There are countless persons who are dying inside with their emotions for fear of being judged. There still seems to be a lot of shame and guilt associated with mental health, and that shouldn't be. We need to work on becoming open to expressing our vulnerabilities without the fear that we would be neglected, ostracized, called crazy. Let us make mental health a topic that can also be associated with healing, embracing our intrinsic values, peace, self love, joy, higher vibrational things, our gifts, our talents, our dreams being validated. We should create a safe space for our friends, family, co workers, even strangers to express their feelings in a way that does not bring them the fear of being judged. Mental health should not just be associated with depression, anxiety, fear. Let us make mental health awareness a norm in society about truth, debunk the myths, encourage people to be great in their own rights, and to let their own light shine and be patient with themselves.
Hi, guys. Season's greeting to one and all. I am so happy to be talking to you all today. I know you all haven't seen me in front of a camera for a long time, but for those of you who are joining me for the very first time, my name is Alina, and this is House of Alina. So today is a very interesting topic that I'll be going into. And I know you all would have seen my introduction before we actually have this sit down today. I'm talking to a very lovely lady by the name of Sidel. As you all know, mental health is something that is very dear to me. Um, I would have also taken the liberty of becoming a certified mental health first aider, and so I know that during this time of year where it is all jolly and shopping and family time, but for a lot of persons, it is not a very good time for them. And so I wanted to have this discussion because I know that this is something is still a taboo subject in a lot of people's discussions and homes and so on. So I invited a young lady today, and we'll just be having a discourse. I'll be asking her some questions, and we'll take it from there. Welcome, Sadell.
Thank you for having me on. I'm very pleased to be here, Elena.
Yes, thank you for coming
Of course.
and taking time out of your busy schedule to be with me here today. So, like I said, I just wanted to ask you some questions. I
Mm-hmm.
have some prepared questions here. So, the first thing I wanted to ask you, well, as you know, we're talking about mental health and depression and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So, I wanted to find out in terms of what were your first thoughts when you started experiencing depression?
So I know, like a lot of people, I also experienced depression during the pandemic when everybody was cooped up at home, and naturally, my first thought was, I'm alone in this. There's nobody who could understand how I feel. There's nobody who could get through to change how I feel, and I just have to sit with this alone. But obviously, that's not true.
Right, okay. So, um, did you ever think about self mutilation or suicide?
Well, those are contemporary topics. So, I considered it, but thankfully my support system always, stepped in before it got to that point of seriously considering it.
Wow, okay, all right. And so, what were your first thoughts when you heard about mental health therapy?
Initially, I would say I was incredibly skeptical, like, you're going to talk to somebody, how is that going to make a difference? But talking does make a difference. it breaks that bubble of I'm so alone, and you realize that there are people who have gone through the same thing, and they're like a little bit ahead of you, so they could provide that sort of support that you didn't even know you needed.
Right. Understood. And so, what are some of the steps you took to work on your mental health?
So, first of all, connection was a big thing. Secondly, I kind of got into a routine because I realized when there was no sorts of structure to my day, I would spend all day in bed. I wouldn't do anything productive. I wouldn't talk to my friends. I would just be alone in that depression corner. Um, so having a routine really helped. And then when I sorted that out, I got hobbies. So I really love to write, and poetry especially helped me get out all those bad emotions.
Okay. So, was there anyone you felt comfortable with to share your thoughts and feelings with when you were going through that very sunken period?
Yeah, my mom, she was a great big help. I know there's this kind of cliche about teenagers not telling their mom stuff, but I'm super close with my mom. And she was there for me when, you know, nobody else was, where I couldn't imagine anybody else being. And I'm somebody who hates to cry in front of people. The amount of
Right.
times I've cried in front of her,
Yeah,
she was
that's
just
good.
there.
It's so important to know that your mom is a huge support system, because, as you said, a lot of young persons tend to isolate away from their parents when they have those sort of thoughts. So
Mhm.
it's very comforting to hear that you have that strong relationship with your mom, that you can vent to her and confide in her, and
Yeah.
she lend that support towards your healing process and
Hmm.
so on. That's great. So, is there anyone in your family or a close friend that was experiencing the same thing like you, especially around this time of year?
Yeah, so it was only until like January last year that I realized my very best friend, she was also going through this kind of low period for Christmas.
Right.
And well, I took a gap year. So I was, kind of working at home. She was in university, so we weren't really seeing each other much. We would just talk on the phone from time to time. And, through this season, being so busy, we didn't really get to connect. And you know of course, I felt bad that I wasn't able to be there, but
Yes.
we bonded over the fact that we both experienced this, and things don't change overnight. So when January came around, we still kind of,
Yeah.
a little down there, but we brought each other up together.
Okay, that's great.
Hmm.
And so, closing our discourse, do you have any words of inspiration um, or advice to anyone who is looking on at this video in terms of how they can go about improving their mental health?
Yeah. So, um, of course, it's not a one size fits all. Everybody else has to take a different path on their journey. But what really helped me is to not isolate, and to just not
Mhm.
be embarrassed for having feelings.
Yeah.
It's so natural. We all experience it.
Yes.
And it just creates more isolation, more depression, because you're not alone, especially in this holiday period.
Right. Okay. So, Sidel, I want to thank you so much for sharing and coming on to my channel. And, I think it's so very important to let others know that it is okay
Mhm.
to share and to come out and to say these things, because a lot of people think that they're alone for whatever reason. And as I said, the topic of mental health is still not being discussed as it should, and it's
Yeah.
affecting a lot of persons more than we can even realize.
Mhm.
So I would like to thank everyone for joining me. Um, do make sure to like, share, and subscribe to my channel, and stay tuned when we have another episode sharing on mental health and awareness. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.